Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the 5-Minute Life Changer podcast, where 5 minutes is all the motivation you need to choose to change your life for the better. This is Robert Landau, National Motivational Speaker, certified life coach, and podcast host. I don't know about you, but I love the topic of this episode. The topic is how to deal with difficult people. I don't know about you, but it seems like the times that we are currently living through can be difficult at times. So what happens when there happen to be difficult times? People tend to manifest that energy, and it comes shooting at you. So, how do you deal with difficult people? Here's an example from my journey. Many of you know that I was an international cruise director for many years, and you can imagine for the close to 10 years that I cruise directed on various ships with different lines, I had my share of having to deal with not only difficult passengers, but also difficult cruise staff, difficult officers, difficult captains, and difficult entertainers. Wasn't always like that, but boy, when it was, it was. And here's an example. For many years, when I was on the ships, I kept hearing that I should never ever work with a singer by the name of Nita Doval. And when I would hear that, I was always wondering why. So I would ask, and the answer would always be the same. She is incredibly difficult. She's a diva, and any cruise director that has worked with her before has lived to regret it. Well, how do you think I felt when I got a phone call from the agency in New York City that supplies entertainers to a certain ship that I was cruise directing on, telling me that the next headline singer that I was going to be sent would be Nita Doval? And I said, no. And the agency said, why? And I said, because I've heard terrible things about her. And they said, Robert, just work with her. We have nobody else that we can send you, and she will wow your audiences on the ship. So I decided to deal with it. Let's put it that way. So, the night that she arrived on the ship was just after one cruise had finished. The next one was going to begin the next morning, and she was supposed to arrive at 9 p.m. So, I was on the gangway waiting to welcome her. It was 9 p.m., 9:15, 9:30, quarter of 10. At 10:15, as soon as I had gone back to my stateroom, thinking, well, she's just not going to show, maybe that's a blessing, I got a call from the gangway, from the officer on the gangway, telling me that Nita Doval has arrived, and I'm requested to the gangway. So, I get dressed, I go down to the gangway, and I don't see her. And I look on the pier, and there's this long stretch limo just sitting there. And I thought, okay, she's in there. I am not going to go down to that limo. She's going to have to come up to me. So after 15 minutes, the driver of the limo gets out of his limo, goes around to one of the back doors and opens it, and there Nita Doval steps out of the car. She looked like she was 8 feet tall, dressed stunningly, kind of like a nightclub sensation, which she was, and she started coming up to the gangway. And she got up to the gangway and was very flippant, and she said, "Are you the cruise director?" And I said, "Yes." "You must be Nita Doval." And then she looked at me and she said, "Show me the showroom. I want to see where I'm going to perform." And I said, "Miss Doval, it's almost 10:30 at night. You want to see the showroom?" And she goes, "Yes. I don't live far from the pier. And if it is not acceptable to me, I will not join this ship." And, you know, I'm originally from New York City. We have it in our DNA that when somebody gives us something like that, we give it back to them double. But I had to just breathe and be calm because I was the cruise director and I don't like firing back at people like that anyway. So I showed her the lounge and she said, "Oh no, this is not acceptable." And I said, "Why not?" And she goes, "Well, for one thing, I see 10 music stands for your orchestra guys. I have music for 12. And I said, well, we're just going to have to work that out somehow. And she goes, that's ridiculous. Turn on the sound system. I want to test the mics. And so I returned to breath. And I went and turned the sound on. And she goes, well, not up to my standards, but I guess it's acceptable. And then she said, so I'm going to be doing 2 shows on formal nights. My act is an hour long. And I said, well, Miss Duval, your act can't be an hour long. And she said, why not? That's what I do on world cruises. That's what I do on all the luxury ships. Why not here? And I said, because we have an opening act that will take 15 minutes out of your 60. So you need to do 45. And she goes, absolutely not. And I said, okay, well, in that case, I'm sorry, it just didn't work out. I will phone the agency in New York tomorrow and find another singer. Even if we have to go this cruise without a singer, no problem. We have other acts on board anyway. And so she said, well, if that's how you choose to behave, you will regret it. And I said, well, maybe. But I hope you have a good evening, and I'm sorry this didn't work out. So I walked her back to the gangway, and just before she started to go down the gangway, she turned to me, and she looked at me and smiled. Her whole expression changed, her whole energy changed, and she looked at me and she said, you know what, Mr. Landau? I think we're going to be good friends. And you know what? It was one of the best friendships I have ever had. She was sensational. Standing ovations after her first number. And she and I got along famously, even years after her contract finished with the line that I was on. Unfortunately, we lost the great Nita Doval a number of years ago to breast cancer, but I will never, ever forget her, and she will always live in my heart. So, why did I share this with you? Because it's a perfect example of how to deal with difficult people. Number 1, do not let them get to you. If they push all of your buttons, don't let your reaction happen. It's them and not you. Stick to the task at hand. Don't let them get the best of you. And if you have to walk away, walk away. Don't take on their stuff. It's their stuff, not yours. Often I would have passengers yelling at me because we couldn't make all of the ports of call on their cruise because of weather. Well, there was nothing I could do about that. All I could do was be as kind as possible and try to work a way that would work out for all of us so that they could be happy. I did not take on their negativity. I didn't choose, because it's a choice, to take on their anger. I stuck to my task, and if I could make things better for them, I would. If I couldn't, I couldn't. End of story. Next. So, in closing, don't let difficult people get the best of you. You never know why they're difficult. It could be some deep psychological trauma, whatever. Just always stand your ground in a positive way and be you. And if they don't accept that, that's their issue, not yours. This has been Robert Landau with the 5-Minute Life Changer. Thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to email me for whatever reason, it's robert@the5minutelifechanger.com. Always be you, no matter what happens around you. You got this. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, if you resonated with it, please give the video a like. And also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date with all the motivation I will continue to share with you. Thank you.